Good morning.
Good morning.
Your
Welcome.
Excellency. And then good morning to you, gentlemen. And then my own, is my niece, Joyce. Your Excellency, I'm here this afternoon together with my team, first to congratulate you and to commend you for your emphatic victory in the just ended.
Mr. Alan Kyeremanteng, if you are actually a favorite in Ghanaian politics, you know this gentleman a lot. He's not even a gentleman, he's a man. Mr. Kyeremanteng is actually the flag bearer of the Movement Party. Actually, he locked off from the NPP political party, actually, the current political party ruling or form governments ruling Ghana, actually, to form his own political party. He was a trade minister for actually the NPP political party, okay, the current political party ruling Ghana, until they went into the polls, and then Mr. John MAHAMA won the election massively with a massive landslide win of 57% point something, and then the NPP led by Mr. Mahamudu Bawumia with 38% and then some numbers. So, you know, he is the newly elected president, that is Mr. John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. You know, when you win election, actually, as a president-elect, though there's a president working on grounds until you are sworn in, Mr. John Dramani Mahama will be sworn in coming January 2025 to actually do business in Ghana, and actually I learned he wants to reset Ghana. That is his symbol, reset Ghana. So he'll be resetting Ghana and to actually do other things. But currently, he is still forming government, appointing some people he'll be working with, traveling to neighboring countries, and then strengthening ties with other neighboring countries. I think on 24th, which was Thursday or something, he traveled to 3 African countries. That is Guinea-Bissau, Gambia, and Equatorial Guinea, and met with the president each individually to discuss regional issues and then how to foster development of the country. Currently, the president of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, has also endorsed a free visa entry to Ghana. So anywhere you are, so far as you're an African and you are in Africa, any country within Africa continent, you can travel to Ghana for free. That is it. So Ghana is becoming more homey and more welcome for many countries. But today's topic is actually about Mr. Alan Kyeremanteng. He is going to get appointment in the governance or in the government of Mr. John Dramani Mahama, or His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. He is going to get appointed because he is having his own political party. He has formed his government, a flag bearer, and then he visited His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to discuss his great transformational plan for Ghana. Though he wanted to actually implement this great transformational plan for Ghana, but he lost the election. You know, as an independent presidential candidate, it's not easy. So the NDC, National Democratic Congress, won the election against the New Patriotic Party, and then he visited him, and then, you know, you're in Ghana, you know what I'm talking about, and then they started talking about a few things. When he visited, Mr. Kyeremanteng actually hinted on certain critical topics that need Ghana, or that need the incoming leader of Ghana attention. In fact, these things are very critical, and I buy with him. You know, he was in governance, and he knows what they have to do to turn Ghana around. They know. But you know, the NDP party, you know, they have issues. I think after I'll be talking about that. But when he went, the transformational plan he hinted and discussed with the NDC flag bearer, actually the leader of the party and president-elect, okay, was very critical. What are some of the things that he discussed about? He discussed about matters like corruption. He mentioned corruption because, you know, in our country, we are seriously corrupt-hunted. We are seriously corrupt-hunted. and we are a seriously corrupt country. And because of our corruption, we are having issues in terms of progress. A country where corruption has become the carcass and has become the order of the day, you can know the youth can never see the top there. And then the new young-born ones will also not see the top there, because the old men sitting up there, they are just misusing the funds, the taxpayers' money, going for borrowing, and a whole lot of things are going on in Ghana. And in fact, as I'm talking with you, a lot are going on, and then the populace are not happy, the masses are not happy. And this actually reflected in the recent ended election. If you know how the election went, they thought they are going to win, but no, the NDC flag bearer has his own plan. So, Honorable Mr. Kyeremanteng mentioned of the corruption, he mentioned of Galamsey, he did mention of the winner-take-all syndrome. You know, in Ghana, when a party wins election, the party do appoint 8 party faithfuls, and then party members, party relatives, and then form government with it, and then neglect other political parties who were also having plans to transform Ghana. So when he went there, he tried to discuss this with the newly president-elect, and then I think the president-elect, John MAHAMA, listened to him in a good faith, and then I think I'll be talking about that too. So he mentioned of that winners take control, and then constitutional review or reform. He spoke about some clauses in the constitution that gives all powers to the president. In fact, the life and death powers to the president, and then making certain key appointments and a whole lot of that. Actually, I'll be also be highlighting on it as I move on. What again? They did mention of a lot of things. Our IMF program, our other African countries relations program, and then a whole lot. Employment, he mentioned of employment. As I speak with you, we have a lot of heavy number of unemployed youth in Ghana. And then you can know when the unemployment is very high, because of lack of job, this happens. A lot of things are happening. In fact, we thank God, actually, I personally thank God that Ghana is not actually a violent or a gangster country where there is no employment because of jobs. The youth takes arms and do a whole lot of violence. But, you know, they are very disciplined. They are waiting for the new government to create more jobs for them. So, Kyeremanteng went there to discuss all these things with the newly elected president. Of course, he was actually welcome. He did everything in a booklet form, and then handed over to the newly president-elect, Mr. or His Excellency John MAHAMA, and then actually it was nice, very, very nice. I will show you the video. The elected president also accepted the book and then mentioned that it is true. Whatever the gentleman is saying is true. In fact, he has been in politics for long. And then he mentioned that his grandfather told him that when you grow up to certain points where you can never take advice or nobody can advise you, that means actually something is wrong with you. He was actually the president was actually referring to the outgoing government, that is the MPP government, because frankly speaking, I've been a witness. They have these appointees, ministers, and then elected officials like the MPs who are very arrogant. In fact, the way they speak to the youth is very, very arrogant. Some of them talk as if the Ghanaian population don't have sense, they don't have head. In fact, and a voter voted for you to come to power, and then the one that was voted for appointed you, and even the MPs were also voted by the same voters. And because of power, they say there is a saying that power corrupts absolutely, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you can see, because of drunkenness of power, they end up insulting the youth, insulting the old, insulting the young, belittling the teachers. They have comments like the teaching job is not a space where you can make riches, and then the youth is not serious, they can't create jobs for themselves. Meanwhile, when they try to create jobs for themselves, you are the same people who try to hand them down. Can you believe a youth will go and then actually buy a land and then go for a loan from a bank and then plant tomatoes? After planting the tomatoes, he need markets to sell the tomatoes to. You go to market centers, try to talk these tomatoes women, and then make promises that by maybe the next month the tomatoes will be ripe, and then you can just plug them and then bring them to them. Now look at this. After this youth, that they are saying they are put their hands in their pocket, they don't do it. Rested on a farm and just get the tomatoes in a basket and then go to the tomato center. This same government, because of poor road network, because of taxes, the heavy taxes that they will put on this local based farmer, the gentleman cannot work. And moreover, when he goes to the market woman will say that, look, we've gone to actually import some tomatoes from a neighboring African country because your tomato is very expensive. And then how can this happen? A country where the local farmers, the local workers, they have to get actually an amnesty in certain taxes to work. It's not that they are heavily taxed, and then the invested, the new actually investors who are in the country, or those who are importing things from the neighboring countries, are getting a lot of leeway, they get a lot of freedom to do that, and then a whole lot. So you see, the working youth in Ghana don't have freedom. Even some of them, the loans they will go for to go and do business, the money they will put at the back for you to come and pay is not easy. So they don't have a convenient environment to work. They don't have the space actually to work. They are suffering a lot in Ghana. So when you create your own job, in fact, you don't have the market. Even those who have market, they are struggling to pay taxes. They are struggling to pay rent of those places they've hired. They are struggling a lot, as you can see. So this unemployment spoke by the Kyeremanteng, the flag bearer of the movement party, to the actually Honorable or His Excellency John MAHAMA, actually was very, very important. So they spoke about it, and then after discussing the unemployment, they went to Galamsey. You are aware that Galamsey has been, sorry, I have to. Galamsey has been one of the headache of Ghanaians. They've been thinking of Galamsey. Galamsey is actually destroying their water bodies and destroying their food crops, making things hard for them, because they end up things that they can get in Ghana for free. They end up importing all those things, hence making importation very high and it's very expensive for them. So all these things they are going through, and then they are still hanging in there. So Galamsey is one of the problems, because the same Galamsey, the chemical they used to do the illegal Galamsey is Galamsey because it's gala and sell. Gala and sell, and it's illegal because those who are doing it don't have the required licenses to do that, and then they do that with very dangerous chemicals, and these chemicals are actually destroying the land's kidneys. And then if you travel to one of their topmost high-ranking hospitals like Walebu and 37 Military Hospital, you can see, if you go to the dialysis center and then certain diagnosis center, you see that the harmful chemicals used in mining and then drain through certain water bodies. Actually, these water bodies are what the Ghanaians used to cook their food, bath, do other things, and it's actually happening to them. So they spoke about it, and then also when they finished, they spoke about the constitutional review, where they can actually review. And the new president-elect said that it is true. When they were in power in the year 2008, then the president, late President Mills, initiated this process to actually review the constitution. Certain clauses and certain powers in the constitution have to be taken from the president, and then certain things that need to be done in the constitution. And then unfortunately, he passed away whilst he was in power, and then he, being the vice, was sworn in, and then he won the election of 2012. He tried to actually work it out, but somebody took them to court, and then the process became tedious until they went to election, and he lost power to the opposition, that was MPP. And the MPP came to power. I learned they've also formed the J.M. Sabon's committee, and they are also working to review the constitution. So constitution have to be reviewed, because me particularly, the electoral commissioner have to be an independent body, and then the president cannot appoint electoral commissioners to go and commission or sit on top of the commission to supervise election and do other things. So these things are very critical and they need to be reviewed. And secondly, today we spoke about agriculture, spoke about technology, spoke about a lot of things that they spoke about. So sit tight and then enjoy this video, because it was a video that was shot, and then I want you to watch it and then see the conversation that went on. I'm happy that these things is going to be manifested, because I trust the newly elected president, and I know by his words he's going to do something about it. In fact, this man is not a president who shapes blames like our outgoing president. Anytime something happens, if it's not Ukraine-Russia war, it is COVID-19. If it's COVID-19, it is Gaza and then Israel war and all those stuff. This president is ready to work. So sit tight and enjoy this video, and then at the end we have more for you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Your Excellency. And then good morning to you, gentlemen. And then my own Is my niece, Joyce. Your Excellency, I'm here this afternoon, together with my team, first to congratulate you and to commend you for your emphatic victory in the just ended general elections. It is clear from the results that you put in a lot of effort and you've been handsomely rewarded in that regard. I'm sure many Ghanaians are not aware that although we belong to different political persuasions, that we've had very good fraternal relations for many years, based on mutual respect and shared common values, and indeed also our commitment to serve our nation in humility. I am aware that you've already had the opportunity and privilege of occupying the high office of President of our country, and so you are already keenly aware of the demands of this job. However, as a brother, maybe I should use this opportunity to offer a little bit of advice. The Movement for Change and the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, we campaigned on two fundamental themes. One is the establishment of a government of national unity, and the other one is the prosecution of a national development agenda based on the great transformational plan. Now, in respect of the first, Your Excellency, I'm sure you're all aware that our country has been seriously divided for many years because of partisanship. And unfortunately, this is robbing all of us of the benefits of our democratic credentials, which we've nurtured over so many years. And I think this ought to change. Secondly, this whole winner takes all syndrome, which has been associated with partisanship, I think is also not helping our country, because we don't have the benefit of harvesting and mobilizing the collective talent of all Ghanaians. And we should not be divided in that regard by our different political ideologies. I think that also needs to change. Thirdly, also, the lack of continuity of government projects, which again is the result of this partisanship, has also cost our nation quite a bit of money. And I think that also has to change. So I would really like, very respectfully, you to consider this whole development paradigm of how you build a government of national unity, which obviously then means that you bring together people from different political persuasions, big and small, people from other stakeholder groupings, because I think they also represent, indeed, in fact, they represent the majority of the people. So they must have a voice also in government. So that's in respect of the first pillar. The second one is the Great Transformational Plan. Your Excellency, I know that during your first term in office, you had to go to the IMF for support. Now, there's a marginal increase or a stability that comes along with being on an IMF program. So ultimately, you find that the numbers will start looking good. It's obvious that's part of the whole objective of a stabilization program. But then, at the end of the program, unless there's a program of transformation, then you are likely to slide back into instability, which is what takes you to the IMF in the first place. And so, with a great transformational plan, I very respectfully like to recommend a number of priorities for your consideration, which is stabilizing the macroeconomy. I know that because of our manifesto promises, there's a lot of pressure. Everything is important, but I feel that it's the macro economy and the economy as a whole that basically must occupy your highest consideration. Along with this, also I would say a prioritization of the productive sectors of our economy: industry, agriculture, and then tourism, because that speaks to the next most critical agenda for our nation, which is creating employment, particularly for the youth. Now, beyond this, also I think is the issue of corruption, which you've spoken about, and which robs us as a country of so much resources that we can channel into development. The next is constitutional reform. Constitutional reform that would enhance the quality of governance in our country. And I'm sure you're already aware of many of those areas that require reform. And last but not the least is the issue of Galamsey, which obviously is an essential threat. It's not just a question of those living in Galamsey communities. This is something that is going to affect all of us as Ghanaians. So, very respectfully, I think that these two development paradigms, I would recommend that you look at them quite seriously. And within the context of a government of national unity, we are prepared to provide all the support that is required for you to be able to implement both the agenda for transformation and also the government of national unity. Your Excellency, in conclusion, I think the greatest legacy you can leave for our country is to help build a peaceful, united, prosperous country which provides equal opportunity to all Ghanaians, irrespective of their political affiliation, ethnic or religious affiliation. We wish you very well together with your team.
Thank you.
And I think on that regard, I'd like to make a presentation of the great transformational plan to you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome you, and to say how much I appreciate this visit, to physically express what you had already done by phone. We spoke on the phone and you extended your congratulations, but I think this follow-up with members of your team is significant, and we appreciate it very much. Like I said, the easy part is over, which is the campaign and the election. The difficult part now begins, and as our traditionally say, many heads are better than one. And you've properly analyzed the challenge of our democracy, and that is that we cannot harness all the human resource we have to be able to move the country in the direction that we want to go. At any one time, the party that wins and its supporters and functionaries are rowing in one direction, and another part of the country is wishing that that party fails so that they can have the opportunity at the next election to be able to come into government, and to create a situation where all of us, or the majority of us, are rowing in the same direction. Then it means that the canoe in which we are will just continue to be in the same place, or even if it moves forward, it will not move at an optimal speed that guarantees prosperity and dignity for all our people. Since 1992, we have implemented the Fourth Republican Democracy under the 1992 Constitution. And I believe that it is based on multi-party democracy. And so the strength and health of political parties is at the core of our democracy. And so one would, even though we're opponents, wish that, the parties that are on the other side of the divide are healthy, and that, you know, they also have their democratic systems working, and that they contribute their quota on whichever side of the divide, government or opposition, they contribute their quota to national development. So we can't be happy with the current situation in the NPP, and I hope that they'll quickly recover from this dramatic loss that they have suffered and put their act together. We could see it coming, and I've been in politics long enough to realize that there was something wrong in the NPP. I remember clearly, and some people have played it over again, our friend Mustafa Hamid, who was advising me at the time that if you reach a stage where you cannot be advised, then there's something wrong with life. I think that unfortunately he didn't have that same advice for the leadership of his party, because I mean it got to a point where democracy in the NPP really, you know, was not what we've been used to and what we all knew, you know, and so it was obvious that they had become tone deaf in terms of what was happening in the country. I mean, people's complaints and all that, I don't think that it really penetrated, because this was the easiest election to predict. I mean, they should have seen a loss coming. I saw Vice President Bawumia saying that they are disappointed because they had worked hard enough, and so they thought they were going to win. I mean, it was obvious that they were going to lose this election. That meant that they were not in tune with the reality on the ground. We know that there have been some issues that led to your leaving the party, and there have been other things that have occurred over the years. I think that sometimes disruption is a good thing, because then it allows a new beginning. And so I think that all the strands that belong to that tradition, you know, should find a way of putting the pieces together, reconciling, and seeing how the party can be rebuilt so that it continues to be a viable vehicle for sustaining our democracy. I'm happy you've spoken about the issues to do with the challenges of our democracy, and they are all too obvious. You mentioned the winner takes all, and we have a system where certain vulnerable groups are not as well represented in our political system as they should be, and so it's something that we need to look at. Luckily, we have the opportunity to look at the whole 1992 Constitution again. It's been crying for a review, and I remember Professor Mills made quite some movement towards it. I tried to continue, but I hit a stumbling block when somebody took us to court. By the time the issue was resolved, we went into an election year. It was not conducive to continue, so we decided to leave it to the next government. I'm aware that President Akufo-Addo's government had a committee working on something. Chairman Sabusu's committee, there's a report or something. We want to take all this, including the constitutional review report, which was chaired by Professor Fiajo and his team, and then the work of the Constitutional Review Implementation Committee, including the white paper and whatever the Chairman Sabusu committee worked on. We want to see if we can bring all this together, synthesize it, and do a national constitutional review validation conference, and look at how us together, all stakeholders in this country, represented, chiefs, you know, professional groups, everybody, and then we look at what is relevant and what we did not even anticipate. At the time we did a constitutional review, we didn't realize that a time will come where there will be an impasse between the Supreme Court and Parliament about vacancy of seats and all that. But these are things that come with practice of the Constitution. And so I believe that if we do this, then it will give us the opportunity to go even beyond and be able to do some amendments to the Constitution that would help take away this winner-takes-all thing. It will bring some more checks and balances into the situation so that the president is not the all-powerful kind of position that makes decisions of life and death, you know, for our people, and that we'll be able to identify other things, including issues like the election of district chief executives, to make them more accountable to the people at the grassroots level. How do we deepen our decentralization and all that? So those would create opportunities for us, and I'm looking anxiously to us being able to do it, and on a bipartisan basis, and as a nation, we're able to do the amendments to our constitution that will make it a more living document going forward. With regards to the, where did I put it? Who took it? Oh, come on. I gave that thing to me. Why are you coming? With regards to the Great Transformation Plan, I think that it falls almost in line with our reset agenda, because after several years we think that there must be a reset, and that is equal to talking about transforming the way things have been done. Because like you said, we'll go through the program, macroeconomic stability is restored, the CD is fairly stabilized, but that is superficial. At the bottom of it is the transformations that we need to do in order that stability is sustainable. And that is what we've not been able to achieve. The last time I was looking at a map showing the imports that we make into this country. I'm sure it was on social media, everybody saw it. And hundreds of millions of dollars every year just go to create employment for other people in the area of tomatoes, tin tomatoes. I don't know how true it is, but I can't believe that we're eating $1 billion of imported tin tomatoes. It's not possible. We need to interrogate those figures, but whatever it is, I know that a huge amount is going into importation of tomatoes, something that we have a comparative advantage to produce into rice, into vegetable cooking oil, into many things that, you know, if we put our mind to it, we can produce. And that's why, for me, agriculture and agribusiness, agro-processing is going to be one of the #1 focuses. We pay lip service to giving support to farmers. We bring subsidized fertilizer, half of which gets smuggled to our neighboring countries anyway, and the real farmers who need the fertilizer don't get it. And so how do we use a system that identifies them and makes sure that if government is targeting them with subsidies or with any assistance, it goes to those who are actually the farmers and not to political party apparatchiki. So those are some of the things we need to look at, and that's why we're thinking of farmer service centers that have a catchment area that registers all the farmers, measures their farms, know what they're growing. And at the beginning of every farming season, if government has any support for them, we have mechanization services, tractors, fertilizer, you know, all the agrochemicals that they need. And they just go to their farmer service center, they are registered there, we know their farmers, we know the acreages that they produce, and then they're able to get the support that they need. But over the years, we've left the value chain. Once the farmer produces, he is on his own. I know because I'm a farmer myself. Last year, my soya bean, people just came and told me how much they will buy it for, and it was not worth my while, because then, even though I broke even, you know, it didn't give an incentive for me to be able to continue farming. And so I can imagine that for me, who is probably a medium-sized commercial farmer, one of the small-scale farmers. And so how we tie down the agribusiness and agro-processing end so that we're adding value to the crops that the farmers are producing is something that we need to look at. And that falls in line with industrialization. As you have said, you have been in that ministry before, trade and industry. So you know that we need as much as possible to industrialize, to create opportunities for our young people. Happily, Asia, with the increased prosperity, is becoming a high cost point for production. And so there are a lot of investors who are looking for new places where labor is relatively cheaper and they can make a better profit producing there. And so I've seen a lot of people, investors from Asia, who are looking for places to invest. Unfortunately, because of our economic crisis, and we've lost our prime position in terms of ease of doing business, you can see that a lot of them are choosing Cote d'Ivoire and Benin over us. And so as quickly as possible, we must turn things around and bring Ghana back as the favorite destination for investment. When I was president, for 4 years continuous, we had an average of $3.2 billion investment every year coming into the country. Last year, we barely made $1 billion in foreign direct investment. And you cannot industrialize and turn your economy around with only domestic investment. You need FDI to come in. So how do we open the door so that foreign businesses come in and set up in an environment that is predictable? And so these are all things that I think we can look at. You talked about corruption, which is one of the major stumbling blocks and hindrances. In the last 8 years, it's actually gone haywire, gone through the roof. There's been no sanctions for people who indulge in corruption. And so it's kind of created a sense of impunity. And as I said the last time, this is our last opportunity to get things right. If we don't get a handle on it, our people are losing faith in our democratic institutions, and so we need to work to restore their faith and let them know that a democratic system is capable of doing the things that will ensure transparency, fairness, and create equal opportunity for all our people. And we're open to working together on all these issues. Unemployment, we know the issue of Galamsey. It's a hydra-headed problem, and it's been exacerbated by the fact that the non-tax revenue pillars of the economy have somehow declined under the last 8 years. Oil and gas is down by 32%. Cocoa is struggling, and that used to bring in excess of $2 billion every year into the economy. Currently, gold is the only pillar that is holding this country. You can talk about non-traditional exports, remittances, and other things, but these other two pillars are down, and so the amount of foreign exchange that one would have expected to come in is not coming in, and so we have a depreciating currency. And so as quickly as possible, we must transform the cocoa sector so that the farmer is the beneficiary of the production of cocoa, not headquarters spending 3.4 billion cedis. I wonder if they're growing the cocoa in the cocoa board headquarters. That money should be going to the farmers, because if the cocoa tree, the return the farmer gets on his cocoa crop is not worth his while, he won't invest in it. And those in the headquarters, are not the ones going to go and grow the crop. And so as quickly as possible, we need to reform that cocoa board. I mean, that huge state, humongous enterprise that is just feeding off the farmers must change. And I know that the World Bank and IMF and co want to work with us to see how we can reform the whole cocoa sector. How about the oil and gas industry? If I have to go around and hug all of them and bring them back and kiss them and tell them come and drill the oil and gas as quickly as possible, I'll do that, because oil is in transition. We know green energies are coming in. If you don't drill your oil and sell it as quickly as possible, you have what they call stranded assets. You have the oil, but nobody needs it. And so there's a time we should be giving them the red carpet to come and invest and pump out all that oil so that we can use it, to transform the lives of our people. And so those are all things that we are happy to work together. Like I said, Galamsey is a hydra-headed problem. We'll do our best to work at it. We're talking to some of the foreign missions where they do small-scale mining. They have the technology for doing it responsibly and sustainably without destroying the environment, and they're willing to share that technology with us. The issue of Galamsey is just a crisis of implementation and regulation. The agencies that have been put to regulate and implement are not able to carry out their duties. And apart from that, the political hierarchy is involved in the illegal small-scale mining, and that's why government does not have the political will to deal with it. And so we hope that we'll create a new environment where we're able to deal with illegal small-scale mining and the destruction of the environment. But like you said, we are open to ideas from everywhere. I've always been a person who believes that all the sense is not in my head, and as much as possible I try to learn from other people, and I know that a lot of thought went into this document. So we'll look at it, we'll borrow from it, we'll steal from it, we'll copy from it. Whatever is positive here, we're going to take and add to the research agenda, and you can be sure that we'll give you credit for whatever we've taken out of it. But I think our ideas are the same. And so we have an open door. As you said, you and I have known each other for a very long time, and your name is quite resounding in Ghanaian politics. You are a stalwart of Ghanaian politics. I don't think that your political career is over. I'm sure there's still a lot more you can contribute to your nation, and we'll all work together. This is my swan song, my final term, and we'll work together to lay the foundation so that the next generation eventually can take it up and continue. So I thank you once again for this cordial visit.